It's Song Talk Radio with Michael, Neil, Phil, and the gang.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio. This is the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Neil Modi, and with me are the autumnal equinox members of the Song Talk Radio action team. We have Fall Time Phil.
I've been jumping over a fire all day, and boy, am I sore.
Oh boy, make sure you don't get burned. And we have Migration Mike.
Oh, hi, folks. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks. Had a busy day,
Good.
but I got everything done that I had intended to, so now I feel like a better person.
Always a good thing. And please send your comments and questions to @SongTalkRadio on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Email us feedback@songtalk.ca, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit us at songtalk.ca and find out how you can be a guest. Our guest tonight, the fellow in the other box. After releasing 4 albums independently, Gilbert Neal released his Wampus Records debut, The Mayor of Estes Park, in 2016 by raising every bar from songwriting to performance to arrangements. From existential funk to plaintive wit to loopy joy, Gilbert Neal grabs you with hooks and grooves, pranks and cones. Swinging from the mainstream to the fringe, he is earnestly sincere one minute and brutally sardonic the next. In his mastery of rock, funk, folk, blues, jazz, and even musical theater, he embodies the modern pop artist, an intrepid tourist of styles. His latest, Mistakes of Memory, Neal crafts a narrative of longing and disconnection, a timeless pop curio that recalls nothing so much as the adventurousness of 70s rock, but the subject matter places mistakes firmly in the glare of the present and positions Neal as an artist to watch amid chaos and change. Welcome to Song Talk Radio, Gilbert Neal.
Thank you so much. The honor's mine. Thank you.
Great to have you. Can you describe a little bit for us your process for writing songs? How do you start, and how do you work through them?
Little background. I used to be in a lot of bands, and the writing process would be sort of a group thing where everybody would just jam around and find something to grab onto, and then I would write lyrics over it. But I decided at a certain time that I was just going to do these solo records and treat them as sort of an insular musical. In other words, not write about things that I cannot speak about my own experiences, and there have been a lot of them. So my process is think of something that I've been through that I want to talk about, and apply, I'd say, sort of a Broadway sensibility to it. In other words, every album has to have a ballad or two. Every album has to have like a torch song or something that really makes you want to dance and things like that. Even though they're not musicals, that's how I sort of approach it. I sort of do groups of songs that way, and that makes the albums more listenable, I think.
Do you have a background in?
Sorry.
Do you have a background in theater, or?
Yeah, I do. My first job out of high school was as a dinner theater bass player. And they hired me because I could play bass and sing at the same time, which was something that not a lot of people could do at 17. And we would do things like Oklahoma and Godspell and Grease and Hello Dolly and things like that. And thusly, I learned not just to read music, but also the rhythm of a musical. You know, how it engages people and where it goes in the first act and where it ends up in the second act, and that sort of that experience really did influence the way that I approach every album.
So does that mean that you start with concepts and lyrics first?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's pretty consistent, or you write different songs in different ways?
I find that I write songs in different ways, but the ones that are keepers are the ones where I come up with a concept first. I can write a groove, I can write a chord progression, but the best songs, the ones that I keep, are almost always when the concept presents itself, and then I write around the concept.
What do you find more challenging, to come up with a concept and a lyrical approach, or to write grooves?
The concept is much more difficult.
So you do the hard part first.
Yes, because there's an honesty to it that, put it this way, if I write like a really good chord progression and try to write lyrics around it, I'll keep going and going and going until I get it right. But the rule I have is that the harder I work at it, the less genuine it is. So even if it's a rare thing where the concept does present itself, a good idea, I just have to trust that that's the one that's gonna be reveal itself to other people as well.
So a very different way of writing than writing with a band, which would be much more, sort of what comes up as.
Yeah, that's why I don't do it anymore. I mean, I'm not that guy. I just found out, after being band after band after band and compromising, even though I'm not the best player at all, I can hire other people to do that. But I don't want to compromise the idea, and I don't want to compromise the concept, and I don't want to jam. I don't want to jam.
Well, I mean, I'm in a band myself, and I think I can. What you're saying really resonates with me, because when we've just jammed out some stuff, we come up with some pretty cool riffs. We've got some good, pretty decent guitar players, and they come up with some really interesting riffs. But then it just kind of sits there. It doesn't really develop past that. Whereas if I or another member of the band brings a song that's pretty much formed, the lyric is there, the melody's there, the chord progression is there, then the band can work with it and shape it and arrange it and add some stuff and take out some stuff and kind of work with it. But when you've got that focused idea concept first, then it just allows everybody in the band to focus in on that and really deliver something.
Right. When you write a song, when you do that, like when you present a song, to me, that's like a birth. And now you're all involved in raising the kid as well as you can. And for me, I do a lot of homeschooling in that regard, because I trust myself that I can do that and do it as well as anybody else can. Plus, I don't trust other people with my own concepts.
Can you talk a little bit about Mistakes of Memory? So what's the concept that brings the whole album together then?
The start of Mistakes of Memory was when I had a 9-to-5 job, and I was in an elevator with a girl from, I think, China, who didn't really understand English very well, but she seemed very gracious and very nice. And I was this big flummox of a guy in an elevator with this girl, telling her these, not jokes, but like being like a sort of a sardonic, witty person. And she was like smiling gracefully because she was just being polite. And I thought to myself as I got off the elevator, how many of my encounters are this? How many of them are people just being nice because either they're afraid to offend me because I'm not funny, or how many of my life experiences have been people just being nice to me because they didn't want a negative interaction. And that's sort of, that was sort of the concept of, because of thinking of that little microcosm in a bigger way, thinking of all the relationships that I've had in my life and how many of them were just compromises for people's comfort. And so that's where it started off. That's where it starts and that's where it ends.
So how do you write 10 songs that kind of point to that but are still different enough? Like, how do you get variety and tie it all together at the same time?
Yeah, like you
sort of like a musical, I guess, right?
You sort of build like a narrative line? Like
it's not a linear thing. What it is little snapshots of these encounters with people and and little like, I mean, I have a concept album maybe I'll do someday, but it's an entirely different thing than that. No, Mistakes of Memory is just basically me saying, I know I'm a jerk. I know I'm making you uncomfortable. I know that this is not going to resonate with you at all. I know that this encounter is fake and facile to you, but listen, because there's good stuff in here. If you take the time and listen to what I'm having to say, and maybe the clown that I'm presenting to you will be something where if anybody takes the time to dig deeper, then I think that there's more that's worth it. And at the end of the song cycle, there's a song called what is it called? Where Are You? Which is my way of saying that this ethereal thing that I'm next to is always with me. It's always there. I always see it, and I'm always acknowledging it, but no one else sees it. And I wish it would go away, but it won't. And that's what that's about.
When you work conceptually like this, do you have an end in mind, or do you leave it open to a certain amount of experimentation? And like this album you have now, like, did you know that it was going to be like this, or have you found your way to it?
Oh, I knew it was going to be like this. I knew exactly what it was going to be. Because as I said before, with the nonlinear concept of taking little snapshots, every album is like that. It follows the trajectory of a standard musical. But once I get done with the process of throwing away those chord session things I do with myself, or the drum machine, the little drum patterns and stuff, and get down to really the concept that I have in mind, then I know exactly the way it's going to sound, except for the solos, which I have to pay people to do.
I have a question, actually. So you very carefully put together this album, this concept where songs are meant to go in a very particular order, because you want the, what is it, like the second, what they call the second curtain highlight, they call it, I guess, or. But anyways, but people listen to music on random so much, and like Spotify, they just hear one. Do you ever do things sort of work within your album in a way that perhaps they need sort of like, if the song is B, do they need A and C for it to sort of make sense, or?
No, because they're snapshots.
Oh, okay, right.
It's like the song we're going to be playing today is a snapshot of me having a conversation with another fake person, that same fake person maybe, about the battle between yes and no. If you looked at yes and no as people at a gig watching you play or walking down the street with you and their conversation with you, who do you want to win? You want yes to win, but no is much more powerful. And sometimes they fight it out, and you don't need the rest of the record to hear that.
Yeah, so it's sort of like a collage approach, right? All these
snapshots.
things are snapshots, and even though they are all tied together as a whole, if you listen to it as a whole, you get a certain experience of it, and if you listen to any of the individual songs, you get a different experience, maybe a little bit on a smaller scale, but it's still self-contained, right? Each song. Yeah.
If people get to know my discography or whatever, they hear the solo stuff, I think eventually someone who really likes music will sort of sense, they'll say, hey, this is him, because I use a lot of flat fifths, and I use a lot of Todd Rundgren chords, and I use a lot of strange harmonies and things like that. Again, I'm not the best at it, and I'm not a virtuoso by any means, but I think if they listen to me after a while, they would be able to identify it. I think it's unique.
Right. Okay. Speaking of unique, why don't we have a listen? So the song you brought in is it called "Here Comes the Yes"? Mm-hmm. And we'll take a listen to it, and then we'll talk about it some further.
Just a word, its power is absurd. Darken when it's missing and brighten when it's heard. Some people never hear it, ever simple, ever clean. If and when they really need it, yes is nowhere to be seen. But if they keep on pushing and they're faithful to their dream, The yeses start to dominate. They propagate, they duplicate. They soon become contagious, like a sweet benign disease. That person in the mirror is the one you need to please. Here comes the yes in a summer party dress. She knows you, she blows you, her kisses on the sly. Here comes the yes in her summer party dress. She shows you, she grows you, the stuff that gets you high. La, 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 la. Slowly, slowly, it will all come back. Knows the thing they say, get the powerless to stay that way. They machinate in the nighttime as righteous pricks by day. Bureaucrats and slavers chopping up their sabers. The fingers on the scales has never done you any favors. Look at what you see, trust your eyes, hear the sighs of another generation of a broken class opening up their thighs. Over and over and over again, to keep you at a distance, I ask you to be open to a path of more resistance. Here comes the yes in a summer party dress. She knows you, she blows you, her kisses on the slide. Here comes the yes in a summer party dress. She shows you, she blows you, the stuff that gets you high. La 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 la. She's only teasing. She needs just one more reason to kiss you in the sand. She's yours, yours, yours for the taking if you dare to kick another door down. Who gives a care if it's the right one? Will that be a consolation? Nobody's blowing kisses to you in the middle of the night. Here comes the yes, her summer party dress. She knows you, she blows you, her kisses on the slide. Here comes the yes in her summer party dress. She knows you, she shows you, her stuff that gets you high. Here comes the yes in her summer party dress. She knows you, she blows you, her kisses on the slide. Here comes the yes in her summer party dress. She knows you, she grows you, the stuff that gets you high. Here comes the yes, here comes the yes, here comes the yes, here comes the yes. La 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 la. La 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 la.
I love the
cool.
ending. I love the ending because it kind of gives it a feel like a band. And so much stuff now is because it's done with loops. It often doesn't sound like it's done with a band because it's not done with a band. So
Yeah, I owe that to my producer, Daryl Nutt, who's in Fort Myers, Florida. We went to the same college, but not at the same time. And I've never met him, but he plays drums, he does all the production, and we have a really good relationship. We've done the last 3 together.
that's great. So I got lots of questions. So you have your verse, What is the verse going into the chorus? I love that change. It's not like a 1 to a 5 or a 1 to a 4.
Yeah, it's never. That's another thing.
What is that chord that you go to?
So the verse is in F.
Is the verse all one? The verse is all one chord. It sounds like it's all on one chord.
Yes, the verse is all one chord.
And then it goes to...
Then the chorus goes to E.
Goes to E.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I thought it was dropping. I love doing those dropping.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, the other thing about this song, I mean, first time I heard it, I was like, I tried counting the modulations, and I every time I listen to it, I try counting the modulations, and I can't keep track of how many times you changing key.
Let's talk about that.
Just typical modulations where at the end you're just repeating the chorus and going up and up, but even between verse and chorus, it's a modulation. When you go back,
that's exactly right.
Halfway through the second chorus, there's a modulation. It's all back, and it's like it's all over the place.
I just love doing that. That I do not know where it comes from. I don't know where it comes from. I can't say, but I try to combine key changes en masse with funk, and I don't know who else does that. I mean,
is that Todd Rundgren's thing? Maybe I'm not familiar with Todd Rundgren.
No, he doesn't do that. He's very modularly sane. All he does is he'll play like an E on the bass note, and on the other hand he'll play B and F sharp, B and F sharp. But that's as far as the stuff goes. You know, I love trittones. I love flat fives. I just love them.
Let's talk about the modulations, because a lot of people don't make use of that, and it's a really handy thing. So you went through modulations. Did you modulate away from the key and then modulate back? Because it feels like you're just kind of constantly modulating, and in a different point then modulating again. And
yeah, I modulate 4 times. First it ascends a whole step, then it evolves a step and a half, then it evolves another step and a half, and I think it ends up in D and then F again, which is...
But even the verse to the chorus, F to E, that counts as a modulation. Even though it's a separate section of the song, but you still count as modulation because you're really switching key signatures like really drastically.
And I just like to do that. I mean,
yeah, it's great. You're going clear across the almost a lot of the way across the circle of fifths.
It hurts me to have to not do that, because I think that's a real big part of the identity of what we do. There was one song on my album Dirty Red Pagan, which was crowdfunded, and the guy who crowdfunded the most got to recommend a song, or got to help me write a song or something, that recommend a subject for a song. And that is just straight blues. So you can hear me do straight blues on that, and the song is called Grind. But that's it. That's the only time I do that. Every other album is chock full of key changes.
The other thing I really like about this song, and this is very instructive to other songwriters, this is how you do a second verse. It's the same subject matter. It changes the point of view a little bit. The melodies are varied very differently than the first verse, but it's clearly a verse. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, most songwriters get stuck on the second verse. Like, what do I talk about now? And they end up being largely redundant some of the time. So I think this
is a fight. This would have made a great video. If I could have done this before COVID, I would have done it. Where Yes is like this pretty girl in a sundress who's swinging around in a grass field, and No is this girl with maybe tattoos and a cranky disposition. And at one point in the video, maybe they would fight. They would both be at the bar. They would both be with you everywhere you go. They'd be at the gig. One of them is criticizing you because you should stop, and the other one is saying you're doing the best performance of your life. And I'm not sure how it would end, but I think that would have been a good concept for a video.
Well, hopefully Yes will win. I mean, that's actually something I've been trying to practice myself in the last several years. Is this? I've been saying this to people, like the power of saying yes, because you're right. It is very easy to say no to things, but when you say yes, you open doors, you open opportunities, you engage with people. You get, your life becomes richer.
And as a musician, you know that no is the default. It's just easier for people to say no, unless they know someone that they know that I'm not going to offend or whatever. Just no is the default, and it's been a struggle, but this is my commitment to however the craft works out.
Mm-hmm. Michael, how about you? Your thoughts on Gilbert's song? Unmute your mic, Mike.
Come on, Michael. He's left.
There we go.
There we go. He's back.
Polite, so I could hear the music better. I kept hearing different other bands, and it was amazing how many you could go through. Yet this still sounds like a consistent piece. Part of that is the harmonies and the tempo shifts and whatnot. I mean, there's some of the harmonies and the verse were very kind of funk or soul, but when you're playing it over a different kind of music, it sounds like its own thing. So I thought that was really interesting. Very hooky right off the top.
Yeah, thanks.
And lots of interesting places to go to. And I'm going, oh, that's almost King Crimson. Oh, that's like Soundgarden. Oh, that's like, it's just all over the place. It's great without the wheels ever coming off. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
Thanks.
I had a question kind of related to the album as a whole. Do you find, like you talked about them being snapshots, which I imagine are discrete units around a central theme. Do you have to play around with the order when you're creating an album, or do you find that, this song will inform the song that follows it because you need to add something or subtract something to make it the running between them smoother?
When Daryl and I have a bunch of songs that are finished, I know the first song and I know the last song, and I usually know the second song. Mm-hmm. And after that, we just sort of commingle. We sort of talk about it. I knew that I wanted this one to be right at the front because it's a concept that I really like. I really like that struggle of personification of the positive and the negative, and not just that, but they're always with you. I mean, if you're an architect, you're a musician, you're an artist, you're a mother, you're a father, yes and no are always with you. One of your voices is saying, you're doing great. One of your voices is saying, you're not doing very well. Mm-hmm. You're shit. Oh, you're garbage. I'm sorry. Yeah. You're not good. You should stop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that dichotomy.
Like the angel and the devil on your shoulders.
Right, exactly. Okay. And that's always with you. And I think sometimes, I think that's a good concept to put towards the beginning of it. But I always know the last song and I always know the first song.
Okay. On that note, I'm afraid we are out of time. How quickly it dwindles.
Hey, what the heck?
So thank you very much, Gilbert, for being on the show. Where can our listeners find more of your music, Gilbert?
Gilbert Neal, Neal.com, or just Google Gilbert Neal and Wampus, and you'll find the record company that signed me. Yay! And you can hear all my releases there.
Perfect.
Awesome.
And we want to hear from you, our listeners. So please
thank you so much.
Thank you for being on the show.
Instagram.
Yeah, definitely.
At Song Talk Radio, please email us feedback@songtalk.ca. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes. Subscribe to the podcast today on your favorite podcast provider. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at songtalk.ca. And wherever you are in the world, please join us via Zoom at our next monthly Song Talk meetup. It's free to join on meetup.com and free to attend the meetup. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link to see the next meetup. Big thank you to Vanessa Vreeland for her help behind the scenes.
Thank you.
Song Talk Radio. And thanks to you, home listener. Thank you very much, Gilbert. It's been a pleasure. Please stop by the website, songtalk.ca, browse past shows, and find out how you can be a guest. Everybody stay safe and keep on writing.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Yay.
You're gonna change your diaper and wear it on my head. You bet. You
great. This is great.